A very good afternoon to all our participants. Hi Nitin, hi Ushma, Chirag, Harshit, Neha, Radhika, Zarna. Thank you all for joining in today. Lakshman, Bhaumik, hi. Good afternoon, Aishi. Good afternoon, Ushma. So nice to see all of you all joining in today on this lovely afternoon. Good afternoon, Vanita. Well, let's begin with our today's webinar. It's a great afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What makes you jump up out of your bed each morning? What percentage of full-time workers around the world are either not engaged at their jobs or downright hate them? What if you get a simple and elegant solution for assessing where you are in your career and determining what pivots to make based on a more long-term outlook? Let's hear it from our expert today. HR Association of India welcomes you all to the 2020 Dialogue Masterclass Series on the topic, Cultivating a Purposeful Workforce Using Career Anchors and Ikigai. For HRAI events and details, I would suggest all our participants to visit the link shared in the chat window. Do follow the webinar guidelines as mentioned in the chat window. Feedback is important. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all our participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Mr. Frederick Sidney Correa, Senior Associate Vice President, HR, Darashaw. Frederick Correa is a Senior Associate Vice President at Darashaw and has a proven track record of creating and implementing HR strategies that successfully drive business initiatives related to profitability, talent development, and effective change management. He has extensive campus recruitment experience and a keen interest to bridge the campus to corporate gap. This led to him to pursue his PhD in this area and him being on advisory boards of studies for various B school universities to co-create both a curriculum and pedagogy focusing around the employability of graduates passing of B schools today. He is an SME of employability studies and talent management at Van Skilling and advisory and is also the author of the upcoming book Enhance Your Employability with Ikigai, a simple 7-step program to win at work and in life. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been provided in the chat window. Without taking much time, I now welcome Mr. Frederick to take over this session. Over to you, Mr. Frederick.
Hi, thank you, Peterson. Thank you, HR Association of India for having me. So, folks, first and foremost, I know it's an afternoon session, so I'm going to try and keep it light, engaging, and interactive. So, guys, my mother told me or taught me well that you never talk to strangers. So, if you're going to have this session, and if you're going to have to believe the gentleman in front of you has some value to contribute, you need to get to know him a little bit better. Well, Peterson has shared a lot of the achievements in my life and has shared who I am in terms of my profile. But I'd like to share a little bit of some of the failures and problems I encountered in this career journey and how I came about touching this aspect, getting into employability studies as a research area, and then today being able to comment on a topic to enhance the productivity or organization's productivity through career anchors and Ikigai. Now there's a plethora of tools out there, and of course Peterson has been very sweet to share that I'm going to share a very simple way. At the end of the day, what I'm going to be able to do today is introduce a small concept with you guys, and what you are going to have to do is take it through in your organization in conjunction with several other tools which I'm happy to share with you offline, and of course in other platforms for our interaction. So I did my first master's in biotechnology. I got into one of the credible, or one of the better pharmaceutical companies, which lies between Baroda and Ahmedabad. I'm not going to take their name. This isn't on my CV, and this is a secret I'm letting you guys in on, because I was there only for 1 month. And I did my master's in biotechnology. So I was a techie. And the first job I got was in quality management systems. So I was in this 4x6 cabin. I had HPLC, which is one of the most expensive equipments, and biotechnologists dream about working on that equipment. And my job was fairly simple. Every hour, from there would be a sample which would come from a batch. My job was to put it into the system, let the system do the analysis, get the readings, and then give my inputs to the producer or the manager who was managing that batch to maintain the quality of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. Fantastic job. 3 shifts. I had a 9 to 5 job. I basically had an AC cabin. I had to take a pipette and just put in 1 sample every year. That was it. That was all I had to do. Very comfy job. A lot of my friends were calling me and saying, you know what, it's you must be enjoying your job. It must be thrilling. And I'm sure a lot of my batchmates, and this was a campus placement, so a lot of them cursed me later because I left that job after a month. They would have given an arm and a leg for this, an arm and a limb for this job. And every time, when they called me and said, oh, you must be thrilled, you got into this company, dream job. And initially, first few days, I also believed it. 3 weeks passed, 4 weeks passed, and I realized that, you know what, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, right? I studied for 20, 23, 24 years of my life. Of course, I'm presuming the first 4, 5 years, I'm counting that as well, to get into this job. This is something which everyone told me I should be doing. And, I come from this background, so I come from Calcutta. And in the East, you have this kind of thought process, and society, of course, has progressed a lot. But during my time, if you weren't a doctor or an engineer, or let's make it easier, if you weren't a science student, you were not a good student. So good students would take science, not so good students would take commerce. And, absolutely, really poor students who are not going to be studying at all were the students who would go into the fine arts. Unfortunately, that was what society was. And I realized, you know what? Till now, I've been trying to satisfy someone else. I've been trying to prove to society that 1, I'm intelligent, 2, I'm worth it, 3, I've been trying to do what my family, my peers, what everyone else thought is the right thing for me. I was not getting satisfaction. And understand that a career is a 30-year-old marathon. It's not a race. So whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing for the next 30 years. So I better like what I do, right? Easier said than done. I was fortunate. I did my internship at this startup, which was a biotech startup. The then VP, of course, he's CEO today, called me and he said, you know what? Why don't you come and you join us? You have the technical skill, and we'd like you to join us and work as a project manager. I said, you know what? If you're going to ask me to work in a lab, sorry, that's not what I want to do. I would like to explore other positions. So if you'd give me a management role, preferably HR, because I started studying behavioral sciences as well during my master's. So I was very much interested in psychology, social sciences, because that is something which caught my attention. And that was something I absolutely enjoyed. So I told him, you know what, let me join you, but I'm going to join in as HR. He said, you know what, we're a startup. We're here for a few. We've just started. You join in HR, but you have to be ready to get your hands dirty. And I think that was the best decision in my life because I got a flavor of every aspect of management. Was there for 2 years over there, and then I went to do my master's, and I was sure this time I wanted to do it in HR. Entered a pretty good B school. Placements were good, but unfortunately, there was this sad reality where people started saying that, you know what, HR placements aren't that great, and you know, there may be 30 people on campus who have taken the specialization, but they aren't that great HR roles which are coming to campus. A lot of people told me, why don't you divest your, or why you speak pretty well, you're a good communicator, why don't you do marketing? My finance professors, of course, finance is fairly simple, and I'm not trying to simplify things, but there's a problem, there's a possible solution which you got to do. You either get it right or you get it wrong. If you understand it, you know, you're going to get it correct or you're going to get it wrong. There's nothing in between. So God was kind. I was good with academics, so I was very good with finance as well. And my finance professors were saying, son, why don't you take finance? My parents and everyone said, you know, why don't you take marketing? Because, you know, there's so many marketing jobs. But I realized one thing. I had spent enough time trying to prove to others or trying to do what others thought would be good for me. I knew that if I am going to achieve something in life, if I'm going to be happy, if I'm going to have a fulfilling career, now I need to follow my dreams. And now the reason I shared this is because the whole concept of Ikigai, the whole concept of career anchors, and the fact that I'm going to introduce how Edgar Sheen came about that concept as well, and in the way of a story as well, is so that you understand the importance. And here's where I'm going to introduce the first concept for the day, and we will touch upon it at the end of the session, which is Ikigai. Ikigai is a very, very, very simple concept. I'm sure many of you all would have come across this, and this originates from the Okinawa Islands, where people tend to live much longer and much healthier lives, right? So when research was done, they found out that these people have this concept of Ikigai, which is purpose for living. And once they find that, they are able to ensure that they have a fulfilling life, and they therefore have a longer life, right? So that is where we have taken up this concept for. And to simplify it, I know all of you all would have done or remember Venn diagrams which we studied in school, you know, these 4 circles which overlap. So Ikigai can be represented through 4 circles in life. 1 is what you like or are passionate about, right? Now, for example, you may be passionate about cricket. That's a good thing, right? Circle 2, what are your skills, right? You may be passionate about cricket, but you can't play cricket. Or maybe you can even play cricket, but there's no chance you're getting out of your gully or mohalla, or maybe you may even get to your district. But you know, with the kind of talent we have out there, with the kind of population we have in India, you ain't going to make it to the Indian team. Now, of course, you may try, and I don't discourage you from trying, but you got to assess, and you got to be real with yourself. You got to do an audit of your skills and understand, what is my skill set? What do I have? Okay. Circle number 3. What does the world need? Now, if I was passionate about cricket, but I couldn't play cricket, right? But I have a very good understanding of numbers. I have a very good understanding of statistics, or I have very good communication skills, right? What does the world need? Well, the world does not only need people who are on the ground playing cricket. You need commentators, right? You need statisticians who provide data. You need people who understand marketing and understand cricket in the broadcast room, who produce the whole live television. Now you must be thinking, okay, live television, what's there to produce in it? You just, whatever's going on the ground, you're shooting it and you're replicating it. There's no production. But you see, the whole idea is all of this is done keeping commercials in mind. So they play ads in between. And while the producer is looking what's happening on the field, and he sees, Mahendra Singh Dhoni making a sign to the pavilion, knowing that he wants something, and he knows from his experience that this is going to take 30 seconds. Why don't you play this ad and push this ad in? So you see, bringing all of these things together is what Ikigai is all about, because the fourth circle is the most important circle. I wouldn't say the most important circle, but many people think it's a very important circle, is what the world is ready to pay for. And it is the overlap of these four circles which is known as your Ikigai, right? This is your sweet spot. Okay. Now, how do you identify it? Well, it's going to take time. It is a continuous journey. You got to plan how to achieve it. You got to plan your career. So how are you going to do that? Right? Now, this was the concept of Ikigai. Now I'm going to throw a little light on the 5 years of research I did during my PhD. And now, from a philosophical standpoint, I'm going to share with you a few statistics and a little information from research, which is backed by what a lot of scholars and educationalists have done in this space. Now, in this research, we have to understand what the focus was. The focus of this research was to understand employability. And what I did was I took employer satisfaction as a construct, right? I went out there to recruiters across the country, about 800 of them, and I asked them, what is it that you look for? Right? Of course, there was a structured intervention, questionnaires, etc. But in short, and I'm oversimplifying the whole concept, it boiled down to certain factors which could be clubbed in two buckets. One is the proximal determinants of employer satisfaction, and the other is the distal determinants of employer satisfaction. The proximal determinants are what is within the control of the individual candidate themselves, and the distal factors which influence are the contextual factors, such as the environment in which the candidate has grown or brought up, the kind of culture, the kind of education, his pedigree, the kind of higher education institute he's gone to. And I'm not just talking of B school, it could be an engineering college. And then when he comes into the organization, the kind of contextual influence he has, the kind of ecosystem which allows him to move from being an outsider to getting embedded within the organization, right? The newcomer socialization, the kind of emphasis and policies that are in place which enable translation of what they have studied in higher education institutes or in school, or transforming or translating knowledge into action, right? The kind of emphasis the organization provides to the goals, the aspirations, the career anchors of these individual employees, and the kind of mentorship and career planning assistance they provide to such newcomers. And now finally, the third concept is of career anchors. And after that, I'm going to be spending a lot of time digging deeper into this aspect of career anchors. Now, folks, I'm going to just put up one screen out there for you. And I want to run this poll. I want you to think, if you were propositioned to change your current job role, right? What is the one thing you would not give up about your job, right? Please have a look at these options. If you must choose just one, which of the following would you refuse to give up if faced with a career change? Have we all been able to conclude what is that one factor which we refuse to give up? All right, so we needn't share this. What I want you to do is only to keep this in your mind, and then I'm going to slowly take you through this concept of career anchors, and then we're going to talk about how important and how, by using career anchors as one of the tools, we can help our colleagues find their Ikigai, we can help them find their purpose for themselves and ensure it overlaps with the organization. So before I introduce this concept, I want to share with you why is career anchors important and why right now. Now, truth be told, this concept was bought in by Edgar Schein, and he bought this concept in about 4 decades back, and he's constantly worked on it. And today it's very, very, very established because there's a lot of research which has gone into it. But why is this important today? Folks, if we look at social sciences and we see how uh, societies have evolved, if we look at the kind of generation which we all belong to, or we have the kind of workforce which consists of baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Ys, millennials. But if you look at today's current workforce and compare it to what it was, a couple of generations back, and even the last generation, we would have seen a shift. In the previous generation, if we look at just Maslow's levels of hierarchy, and this is of course an oversimplification, people would take a job, and the concept of a job was, boss, I need to earn a living. I need to earn money so I can look after my family. And they would join an organization and generally tend to retire from that organization, or at best, change a job maybe twice or thrice in an entire career. Today, that has changed. Why? Because the millennials today have a very good backing from their parents and their forefathers who have created enough wealth and enough security which allows them to choose what they want to do with their career, because their safety and physiological needs are generally taken care of, right? So as HR folks, when you're dealing with such a generation, the way you do talent management has completely changed, because the notion of lifetime employment is now replaced by lifetime employability, where folks are changing jobs every 2 to 3 years. You see, with the onset of the gig economy as well, with so many people coming in and performing various gigs, we see the whole uh, concept or the responsibility of career management no longer remains only with the organization, but is shifting to the person who is coming to service the organization or provide that service. And if we look at the way careers are made these days, you see career changes and job shifts are becoming less structured and predictable. So if you very early identify your career anchor, that is going to enable you to identify and move towards your Ikigai. Now, you remember when I spoke about the two major influences which influence employer satisfaction, and we spoke about the distal influences. Now, the most important influence which is in control of an individual is what is captured under the proximal influences, and it is clearly and well with evidence proved that people who have career clarity or what they want to achieve in life and plan accordingly are people who are preferred, or are people who generally satisfy the people who have hired them. So you would hire someone who has more clarity, who knows what he wants to do in life, and he knows how he is going to achieve that, and how you as an organization can provide him the tools and provide him the resources he requires
I believe we lost Frederick. I'll just connect with him and get him back. Till then, request all the participants to be patient enough. We'll have him shortly. So Frederick is joining in. So request all participants to kindly be patient enough. He is joining in. Yes, Parvati. So Frederick is joining in. We'll have him in few moments. Yeah, Frederick, we had lost you.
Hi. Apologies. I think there was a connection issue. I'll just share the screen again.
Sure.
Apologies, gentlemen. I'll take it from where I stopped. So what Edgar Sheen did was he tried to understand the career decisions of the same batch of graduates over a period of time, right? Right when they passed out after 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. And in the 10th year, what he did, he had a bunch of 44 students. He did a structured, long interview with each one of them to understand their career decisions. I'm going to share one of those interviews in a very brief manner. And this was a student who did well in finance. He initially joined as an accountant. After he grew as an accountant, he went into the treasury team. After being a part of the treasury team, HR found him to be very passionate and he spoke very well and thought he was a high pot. Let's put him in marketing. So HR put him in marketing. He stayed over there for some time, didn't do too well in marketing. He went back into he went back into the actuarial department. Now, Edgar asked him, what was the thought process? Why did you make these jumps? And you know what? You moved and this jump he made from a marketing role back to an actuarial role was lateral, and it was not it was not a promotion, but in the same space. So when he was asked, what was the thought process? So he said, I didn't like the marketing role because it was a lot of people management, and I don't like doing that. Too much of politics, too much of games, too much of people. So that's why I came back to the actuarial. I came back into this finance space and joined the actuarial department. So Edgar accepted that answer and he said, you know what? Okay, fine, I accept that answer. Now tell me, God willing, and if you have this opportunity in life, or if I were a genie and if I could provide you with a wish, at the end, where do you see yourself retire from? What do you see yourself doing? So he thought for a while and said, you know what? I'd like to be a CFO in a company like General Motors. And I'm talking of a study which was done 4 decades back. So General Motors at that point in time was one of the biggest organizations in the world, in the US. And it was a dream company. I'm not saying it's not, but if you compare what the market valuation of Tesla is as compared to a General Motors today, the picture will be very different. But at that point in time, it was a great organization. Now, Edgar Sheen smiled and he threw another question at him and he said, you know what, son, you want to become a CFO. You could have become an MD, CMD, you could become chairman, you could have done anything, but you chose to be a CFO. Fair, no problem. Tell me one thing, when you become a CFO also, the problem is going to be the same that day, na son, that you're going to have to manage people. And that is the same reason you gave me for not wanting to stick at that marketing job. So you know what, the two don't add up. Please justify. And this guy thought, he smiled and said, you know, Edgar, actually, the people I'll be managing as a CFO will be people like me, right? So I'm okay to manage this kind of people. I'm going to cut the story there. I'm going to stop the interview there. And now I'm going to throw a question out there to all of you. Now, in this example, what is the one thing do you feel this guy was not ready to give up in his job? And I'm throwing this, and there's no right and no wrong, because I haven't introduced what are the type of career anchors. But if I'm just asking you, just from this background, what do you think this person was not ready to give up? Is there a common trend? Okay. Position, sense of authority. You know, he could have chosen to be a chairman, which or a CEO, which also was a sense of authority. Connecting to people is something which he could achieve even if he was a marketing person. Yes, Setu Shah is absolutely bang on. His domain, his affection towards finance, his technical competence. You know, people get a kick from doing certain kinds of work. So this person would get a kick from doing work which would be close to numbers and finance oriented, which is why if you look at every job, he was at one point of time, he didn't want to do people management, but he was ready to do that. But the one thing he never wanted to give up was his domain, his technical skill set. So my friends, that is an example of a career anchor. And we as HR folks have to understand, while we may identify hypots, we have to see the overlap. While we plan according to our organization, this guy can grow this way and move to the top, we need to align our career expectations or our career path planning for the organization with the individual by identifying their career anchors. Because what's going to happen is we may put them in a position where we feel it's good for them in their careers, they may not enjoy it. Right? So we got to give them what they enjoy, because at the end of the day, these guys, if they're not going to enjoy what they like, and with this minimum, you know, with the lack of this need for security and safety need, with a lot of these backgrounds provided to these individuals, they will simply leave the job, or they will start searching for another job. Right? So the importance an organization provides to the career anchor of the individual, and this is something which evolves over time, is very important. Because once you understand this, you're going to be able to help your employees identify their Ikigai and understand that there's never going to be 100% overlap. There, you have to try and see where there's a 60-70% overlap, and then throughout the period of their association, try and build on that 30% overlap. So that is the introduction of the concept. Now, what are the questions we are going to reflect for in this session? Now, Now I have made this session, or I have created in such a way such that you also understand career anchors, and these questions are for you as individuals, for your career to understand it first and how it matters to you, because only once you understand how it's applicable to you will you be able to go and replicate this and become trainers and train others to do so. So if so, going forward, the next part of the session is going to concern you as an individual. So in this session, what am I going to cover? I'm going to cover certain questions which are in front of you. Primarily, how do I make sense of the construct of a career for myself and for significant members working along me, under me, or with me? What are some important factors relevant for career success and growth? How do I get a sense of where I am and how to plan my future basis this understanding? And is there a concept of success and happiness beyond organizations? And there is where this socialization and organization embeddedness comes in. So what are career anchors, and where do they come from? Well, as your career evolves, person develops a concept about his understanding what he is good at. So there are three major factors which contribute to career anchors. One is your perceived level of competence. What do you feel you're good at? It may not be true. You may not be good at it, but you feel you're good at it. Because only if you feel you're good at it, you will try to develop yourself in that area further because you believe it's a strength. Second, what are your motivators? What are the things that motivate you? What are the things that demotivate you? And the third are your values. Now, values play a very important role in shaping your career anchors, but this, of course, comes in the later half of one's careers. So the first two aspects are extremely, extremely important. So to conclude, what is a career anchor? A career anchor is a perceived area of competence, motives, and values that you would not give up when faced with a career decision which might not allow you to fulfill it. Right? In short, a career anchor represents your real self. Right? If you can identify this, you will be able to manage your workforce better. You're going to be able to communicate better, and you're going to be able to tell them what they want to hear, because at the end HR is also very much a sales driven role, because you're selling concepts such as job satisfaction, a promise of a good career. So you got to understand what your audience wants and cater to them and communicate that way. So guys, I'm not going to be spending too much time on the major stages of a career, because all of you folks from the fraternity do have a good understanding. But I'm going to just share a few concepts. So stage one is generally when you're a child, when you fantasize about a career and you ask someone, what do you want to be? And a child says, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer. He doesn't actually understand what does that mean. But that is the first stage, because there's where you first create the initial goal of what you want to become or what you want to achieve in life. There's a fantasy, and you start exploring yourself. After that, you start gaining your education and training into the space. Say you get your degree. Say you want to be a doctor. You get your degree. You do an MBBS. You enter into the work. You get posted in a government hospital. You go over there and you see people lying everywhere around, and you realize, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Right? Or third year and fourth year in college, you realize that, you know what? I'm a doctor, I understand, but I cannot be around people who are sick, or I cannot be around too much blood, or I cannot be around people in too much pain. So there can be various aspects which you start realizing. Say whatever thought processes happen, you enter into the work world. You enter into a hospital, you get your basic training, and you get membership in that organization. Now there are two things which can happen. Either you always wanted to be a doctor and you do fantastic, you gain tenureship and you become a permanent member of this fraternity, or you realize, this is not what I want to do. So, you know what, I've studied all of this. What is an alternative career choice for me? And then you may go and do an MBA degree with hospital management in mind. You can go into hospital administration. You can go into different kinds of consulting services. So you understand that just because you've chosen a field, you can always change. So you'll go back and then you'll again go through these stages in life up until you come to a stage where, you have a mid-career crisis, or you reassess, what, this is what I've been doing for so long. Is this real? Am I actually achieving my goal? Is this what I want to do? So a lot of people sometimes shut shop, or they leave their jobs, go start an entrepreneurial journey, or they leave their job, do something, get stuck in their career. Some people just level off because they don't invest in employability and they don't invest in themselves. So they come to a point where they are highly paid, and as per Peter's principle says, they reach a level of where they're no longer efficient, right? So disengagement starts. Either they move out, or they can retire out. So these are the various stages of a career. And if we look at the other model on the right, your career can not only be linear, it can be diverse, it can be horizontal, it can be vertical. So someone who started off in sales can then move into marketing. From marketing, he can move into HR. From HR, he can move into finance. And probably one day, when he become a managing director, or the chairman who understands every department. Now, this could be the journey of one hypot. At the same time, another hypot may just want to stick to his career anchor, which could be his domain, and would want to grow in that space. Someone may not want more responsibility, but would like more flavor. For him, he would like to diversify what he does. So these are very, very simple but effective tools to understand and to bring in while we carry out career planning exercises, not to mention various psychometric tools, which are an absolute essential these days. Your Thomas profiling is an excellent tool which helps you. And now we are coming to career anchors, and we're going to go deeper into what are those 8 career anchors or major buckets which Edgar Schein came up with. Now, what Edgar Schein did was while he saw 44 different people, and of course he's done these studies with others, and he's seen many different people have different career paths, but the decisions or the reasons for which they take those career decisions generally can be bucketed into 5 major buckets and 3 smaller buckets. But these 3 smaller buckets have gained importance as they are sizable people in these other 3 buckets, but generally a large number of people fall into one of these 5 buckets, right? Now, which are these major 5 buckets? And then we'll look at the other 3 buckets, but I don't want to bias you. So I'm going to share one bucket after the other. Technical competence, right? This kind of person likes to be good at something and will work to become a guru or expert. They like to be challenged and use their skill to meet challenge. They do their job properly and better than almost anyone else, right? That finance guy I spoke about, this is the kind of guy, right? Then you have another breed of people whose career anchors are general managerial competence, or who like to do general management. So unlike the technical person, these people are not concerned with the department. What they are concerned is authority, power, position, to mobilize people. So these folks want to be managers, okay? And they just don't want to get more money, right? Of course, money is an important metric for them and it motivates them, but they like to be problem solvers and they like dealing with people. They thrive on responsibility, right? So understanding that these folks generally would be good managers, they may not be great technical people, right? So resource mobilization, etc. This is what, if this is your career anchor, these are the kind of people who can be shifted in various departments and are very easily fitted. Now there's this third breed, or this third category or third bucket of people who require autonomy, right? You give them something, they need autonomy. These people have a primary need to work on their own, in their own rooms, in their own rules, and they prefer to avoid organization rules, organization policies, organization standards, and they prefer to work alone, right? They don't like a helicopter boss. Point bucket 4 is security and stability. This is a very common bucket of people. These are people who don't like change. You will see them in government organizations. They are happy. They don't want to grow to the next role, or they may take the next role, but they don't like too much change. They want security. They like doing the same thing again and again, right? These people seek stability and continuity as their primary factor. These are generally the solid citizens in your organization who will stay there, and they will be with you, and they're generally loyal. They will stay with you, and these are your general lifers at the job. Okay. The next bucket are entrepreneurial, and these people have this bug for creativity, right? They like to invent, right? And most of all, if given a chance, these people would like to run their own business. Now, they differ from the people who want autonomy, right? Because these guys want to run their own business. These guys get easily bored, and wealth is important for them. It tells them what they've achieved, not achieved, etc. Now, I've shared 5 of these career anchors. These are the major career anchors. Is the career anchor going to remain the same throughout your life? The answer is no. You got to keep doing this exercise, and every 6 months, once in a year, do this with your employees, do this with your colleagues when you're doing the career planning exercise. And of course, there is a career anchors inventory. Very simple. It takes only 5 minutes. They just need to fill this form. They won't know what they're doing, but then once you get the answers, you get the scores, you will understand how to create their career paths and manage them better. And that is what this masterclass is about, and what I'm sharing with you guys. So now there is a possibility that this entrepreneur, or there's a possibility that there will be an evolution. So someone who may have an entrepreneurial creativity as a career anchor, who may have joined the organization at the age of 25, 26, 28, 30, may over time shift, right? Because he may have more responsibilities, life situations may change, and his career anchor may not remain entrepreneurial creativity anymore. It may simply become autonomy, because now he also needs security. So this continuously changes. So this is not a one-time exercise, but something we need to continuously do. Now, there are 3 other buckets. Now, they are fairly important buckets, but they are fairly small because they are lesser takers. One is service to a cause, right? Generally, these people are cause driven. So now you see, they may be lawyers who want to work with Greenpeace. Now, they love being a lawyer, but they're not in it for the money. And their cause is they want to do something for the environment, or they want to do something for people. So there are a bunch of people, or there's a block of people for whom this would be a career anchor. As long as they have the opportunity to impact people, they'll be with you. But if they change their role or their job, and you take away this one thing from them, they will not enjoy, and they will not find a satisfaction in what they do. Type 7 is pure challenge. These are generally generally you'll see a lot of engineers who like this, who like to be challenged. They like to be given problems. If they don't get problems and their brains are not challenged, they get bored. Okay, so they need a job with constant challenge. If they don't have problems, if there are no issues, they will get bored. And finally, one of the biggest evolution in career anchors is lifestyle. When people will choose a lifestyle over growth in an organization. So for example, I'd rather not take a promotion, because if I take a promotion, that means I'm going to have to put more hours in office. That means I'm not going to spend enough time with, and please understand, do not confuse this with work-life balance, right? If you help your employees or colleagues find their Ikigai, work-life balance is no longer going to be a question, because work and life will integrate so beautifully that work-life balance is not going to be a question, not something you're going to have to deal with. But this is, this breed, or this is that category of folks who would suddenly come to you and say, I want to go on a sabbatical. Why? I'm going with my biking gang to Kasol, or I'm going with my biking gang to Ladakh. So I want a 1 month vacation. Now you may tell me, that's not possible. He says, see, I'm planning it 3 months from now. I'm telling you, and this may be the senior most person in the organization. He may be a high pot, he may be a leader. He understands his responsibility and he'll plan it. But if you're not going to allow him to do it, he's going to find another job, or he's going to find something or some other opportunity where, or to earn a living, which is going to allow him to maintain his lifestyle. Right? So it is very important to understand one's career anchors, because that and the emphasis you allow and put onto the new entrants career anchors will allow social embeddedness, will allow him to get into the newcomer socialization becomes even more easier, and he gets integrated even more and even faster into the system. So folks, these are the various career anchors. What I'm going to do, share a few case studies, and now I'm going to get into our Q&A. Now I'm going to share these case studies. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to ask you what you think is the person's career anchor. Now everyone is going to have a different paradigm. The idea of this case studies is to just get you thinking in lines and using these concepts which we have just understood. There is no right, there is no wrong answer, right? So guys, we can unmute everyone, and we can discuss the first caselet. So let's talk about Garth. Garth is a 33-year-old design engineer who has been working with the company for 8 years. Steadily, he's created dynamic new programs and even made significant contribution to hardware. Within 5 years, he has zoomed to a supervision level and has begun managing several projects that include people senior to him. He clearly stood out. Now, guys, this is the first situation. What do you think would be? And of course, you need to do the career anchor inventory. But just from this case, what do you think is probably Garth's career anchor? Folks?
Hi, this is Gayatri. I feel that Garth is more to the missions rather than with the people.
Sorry, Gayatri, I didn't get you. Garth is more
to the missions rather than to the people.
Correct. So which of those 8 buckets do you feel he'd fall into? Which of the 8 buckets do you feel he would fall into?
I think he should be more to the first or third bucket, I feel.
See, autonomy and independence, yes, you're right. Technical function, yes, you're right. You see, these are all important parts of this job. He's done very well technically. He's managed multiple projects, and he is good at dealing with people. So you see, he likes power, he likes authority, he is able to do different things. He has no problem not sticking to one project. He's okay to play a small role in multiple projects as long as he's able to get results. So the right answer perhaps would be general managerial competence. Now, just because that is there doesn't mean he doesn't have the other factors. So you're bang on. He's very good technically. He likes autonomy, but He is ready to work on multiple projects, and he's done very well. He's quickly zoomed up from,
Okay.
from a traditional individual contributor to a managerial role, done multiple projects. So someone who has this would generally have managerial competence as his career anchor. I know this is a little, this is just 2-3 lines, so it's a little tough. Maybe the other caselets would help take this understanding a little bit deeper. I kept the first one fairly simple. Now, caselet 2, Rex was in on the founding of the company and is Garth's immediate supervisor, and he coordinates. He's the coordinator for all design projects. It is a thankless job. It requires endless follow-up, deadlines, correspondence, revisions to keep track of 36 projects at any moment of time. Rex, however, loves filling out charts and carries a lot of the company's history in his head. His loyalty, competence, devotion to the company is unquestioned. Still, it is Rex very loyalty to the company that makes things difficult for his managers. He runs on applauses. Says his manager Bill, and I'm running out of things to reward him for. How he will do anything he's told, no matter how long it takes, but you have to tell him that first. And his reaction to a new project is always, that is not the way we used to do it in the past. हम पहले ऐसे करते थे. His conservatism is driving the kids crazy. The younger folks are getting crazy because he's very old school. What do you think is this person's career anchor? So I see some chats. His career anchor, Nitin, bang on, security and stability. People who have this as a career anchor generally don't like change. So you see, this is something which you're going to experience when you have a multi-generational workforce where the senior management or senior leaders, if they have this as a career anchor and you have millennials who are working, it's going to be hard to manage the team. So you're going to have to understand how to get people to understand what are their strengths, their limitations, and how to open up and accept other ideas. So yes, bang on. This is absolutely correct. Career stability and security is this gentleman's career anchor. Caselet 3. For a long time, Bill has the same feeling about Kazi. Again, a bright project manager in the mid-career, but the pattern here seems different. He appears more obsessed with his craft, insatiable about learning all he can, technically sophisticated, always pestering Bill for the state-of-the-art equipment or permission to go for a professional meeting. He's probably accounted for more technical innovations than any of the 4 people. But I have 2 problems with him. Bill confessed. I'm not sure he's loyal to the company. If he got more challenging work or a challenging offer, I'm sure he will take a shot at that. Even if it means taking a pay cut. Then how do I get him to do the dull work? He's a genius at debugging programs, but he won't take time to tidy up loose ends afterwards because he gets bored easily. So what is this guy's career anchor? What do you feel is this gentleman's career anchor? Yes, pure challenge. Number 3 on the screen. Correct. Bang on. Finally, folks, the last caselet, and I think we have 2 to 3 minutes. So we're going to take this caselet, do a quick recap, and then we'll go in for questions, or we'll skip this caselet. We'll just do a quick recap so I can keep some time for questions. So, folks, I want you to now think about these questions. What are the kind of anchors you would attract into your organization? What are the anchors do you feel your organization's culture, your organization's ecosystem will support? Okay. Question 2. Are some roles having a natural fit for some career anchors? So generally, if people have a particular career anchor, would certain roles be apt for them? How flexible is our HR systems to manage this diversity? What can individuals do? Can they manage themselves and create self-insight? And what the organization needs to do? Do you need flexibility of systems, careers, rewards, incentives? How do you stimulate others to have self-insight and do their own career management? How do you clarify the organization's needs and accordingly change, alter, create, redefine your role structures and design jobs to engage your workforce? Right? These are the questions I'd like you to ponder on. And I'd like to end with some additional points. You must be thinking, you spoke about 8 anchors. Are there other anchors? Yes. There's a lot of research. There's one very particular anchor in India, in the Indian context, because of the Indian culture. For example, duty. People will have duty as a career anchor. Some people will join their family business because they feel it's their duty. Some people will join the army because they feel it's their duty. So there are various other career anchors, but different countries, different cultures, there can be other anchors, but generally these 5 and other 3 career anchors is good enough for you to understand and help your colleagues, help your associates, your employees identify their career anchors and their Ikigai. Is it possible to have more than one career anchor? The answer is no. You may have, at any point in time, you may say, you know what, all of this apply to me, but the point is, what is the one thing, what is the one dominant aspect? One career anchor generally is dominant. So what is the one career aspect which you would not give up about your job? And finally, like I've already said, do these change? Do these evolve? The answer is yes. Over time, as you grow, these do evolve, these do change. And with that, folks, we'll sum up today's masterclass. So, a career anchor consists of self-perceived competence, basic values and motives which drive you. We spoke about the various career anchors, the 8 career anchors, and I shared certain areas which I think you should ponder upon after going through this class. And finally, you develop an action plan with your associates, get them to fill the career anchor inventory, have a follow-up conversation, and help them craft their development plan. So folks, I'd like to leave you with this last slide, which talks about Ikigai and the concept I introduced at the beginning of the session. And Peterson, over to you.
Thank you so much, Frederick. Before we move into the Q&A session, would request all the participants to kindly share their feedback. We'll be running a poll right now. Request all to kindly share your feedback. While you're in the process of sharing your feedback, would request all to kindly post your questions in the chat window so that we can take those questions post we are done with the feedback. So Frederick, we have one question from Setu.
All right.
Hasn't careers always been purpose oriented, and the purpose has changed in every generation? How would career to achieve or contribute or create be different?
See, you're absolutely right, Setu, and that is where I spoke about how there has been an evolution in sociology and the way societies have come. Before people had and that's why I spoke about Maslow, where people's needs were very preliminary. They would join an organization, and then they would let the organization and let this whole journey evolve, because for them what was important is that I go to my job every day, I earn my salary, I look after my family, and then whatever the HR department, whatever my manager, whatever the boss thinks, whatever the company needs, I will do that, right? And yes, of course there was a purpose. Today things have changed. People don't look at just what the organization needs. They look at what I need. Everyone today is, no, I want to do this. I want to. You'll see before. And I just shared this with Peterson just before we started this talk. The difference in the generation is, if we go to ask our parents and our forefathers, even after retirement at the age of 60, they want to work. You'll be surprised, they want to work. But our generation, they all want to retire by 45 and 50. So you see, everyone, the aspirations have changed. The quality of life has changed. People want a big car, they don't want a house. Why? Because that's what the aspiration is today. So when the aspirations change, the purpose automatically changes, right? So at the end of the day, today, if you look at the kind of polls which have been conducted by Gallup with other such premier engagement agencies who try and understand engagement, still you'll be surprised that 80 to 85% of people at work aren't engaged. That's because they don't have a purpose. They're running after the purpose which they feel is good, or they feel, the world feels this is good. My parents told me to get into this. The worst thing what people can do is they don't understand this concept of sunk cost. I have invested so much time. How can I change my career? I've spent 20 years doing this. How can I change my career? And then also there is this last concept which I'm introducing, is people have this concept of getting into this Niagara complex. Niagara complex is going with the flow. So they'll go wherever the river takes them. And then, when the current increases, they'll even leave their paddles because life is going on, everything is fine. It is only when they listen to the rumbling sound and they realize that they're coming to the end of the waterfall and their career is going to sink or it's going to crash. And at that time, the current is so strong, they can't paddle because they've lost the ability to paddle. And that is where you see people, unfortunately, level off in careers, which is why I say, folks, you need to focus on the second half of your career and not the first half. In the first half, you're going to have good bosses, good mentors who are going to drive you. Focus on creating the foundation, keeping in mind what you want to do in the second half. Because if you don't do that, in the second half of your careers, people level off, people land up having midlife crisis, people land up getting easily replaced because they have not kept updating themselves up as per their goal or what they want to achieve. They feel they have achieved what they have to, and now when life is going on, we'll see what life has to offer. So it is very important to always have that purpose, and you'll be surprised that everyone does not have purpose. People are running after the wrong purposes. People are running this rat race up the corporate ladder only later to find out that this ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. But they've invested so much time. They've invested so much money. They have loans. They have responsibilities. Can they do what they want with their career? So many people make compromises. So which is why I say, you cannot, the outcomes of your decisions aren't in your control. Your decisions are. Plan them. See what you want to do. Have an end in mind. It's like going to your career or a higher education institute is like a railway platform. Your career or the job which you take is like the railway train. You need to know where that train needs to go to, right? Otherwise, two things will happen. Either you'll stay at the railway platform Or you'll see what train where everyone is running, the train which has the maximum crowd. You will get onto that. Suddenly, midway, realize that this train is going to Chennai, but I want to go to Calcutta. Right? So you need to have the end in mind, because if you don't know which train to catch on, you will see stars. Now imagine if you from first know you want to get into Calcutta, but there are no trains going to Calcutta, at least you'll know, let's take the train going to Ranchi, it's going halfway to Calcutta. I'm not saying you'll get your dream job always. The point is, understand where you want to go, create milestones, reflect what you're doing today. Is it taking you closer to your milestone? You need to do these reflective exercises once a month, once a fortnight. At senior roles, you should do it once a week. Are your actions taking you closer to where you want to end? You need to keep the end in mind, and all your actions today need to take you towards that goal. Because, Albert Einstein said it's insanity to repeat the same thing again and again and expect a different outcome. So if you're doing something again and again and you're dreaming that you'll get something else, but you have planned it, you have measured it, you have those milestones, but if you don't reflect and don't realize that what you're doing today is not taking you over there, then my friend, you're not going to go there. You may have purpose, but purpose alone won't do. There are very simple rules of success, and I'm going to enumerate a very simple rule, which is what you sow is what you reap. And you'll say, I know this, it's very old, but this is actually not so simple as it seems. First, you have to have the desire to sow, right? Having the goal alone won't do. You got to execute too. You got to sow too. You sow tomatoes, you don't get potatoes. And then there's a gestation period. You sow a seed today, you don't get fruit tomorrow. You got to wait. Unfortunately, the generation of a lot of folks, they want to have the fruit first. They say, you give me fruit today, then I will sow the seed, right? And finally, you sow one seed, you don't get one fruit. You get a tree which gives you many fruit. So having a purpose in mind is important, but you got to keep moving. You got to keep reflecting what I am doing today. Is it taking me one step closer to my purpose? You got to do a skill audit. Understand, what skills do I need to get there? Where I am today? Am I developing myself and upskilling myself to get there? So having a purpose is not good enough. You need to put your dreams, or to translate your dreams, you need to translate your plans into actions. I hope I've been able to address that point. And this is very different from what used to happen before, because before everyone would think it's HR's job to do it. I'm saying today it's our job. Today it's the job of every employee. And at the end of the day, don't put your life's goals in someone else's hand, right? It's your canvas. Draw it yourself. Yeah, Peterson.
Yeah, absolutely. And rightly said, many have this concept, go with the flow, a kind of thing, like wherever everyone is going, you keep following them. So yeah, very rightly said. With that, we have our next question. It's a pretty interesting one. Also, keeping in mind the time, we can have this taken up. Could you please suggest the career anchor for the fourth caselet, which we had left out? So if we can take that, I think is what we would like to cover that. And there are many other questions. After this caselet, we can conclude.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you want, Peterson, you can mail them to me. I'm happy to. Sure, even if time is of constraint, I'm happy to answer everyone's questions online or via LinkedIn. We can connect.
Sure.
So here it is. With another employee, Elizabeth, Bill still has a different problem. She's a brilliant technician, but unlike Garth, she does not seem to be after anyone's job. Married, a mother of 3 children, including a year-old baby. Elizabeth negotiated for an at-home workstation during the last pregnancy. She worked part-time even during her maternity leave. When she has had to cut back for a few days, she has always made up the time. She seems obvious to much of the company's friendly Esprit de Corps, concentrates on her work, fights like a tiger for technical challenging projects, and comes through superbly. But she has refused 2 to 3 promotions and would have made her supervisor over a group larger than a 2 or 3-person team. She says, I don't want to spend my time managing people. She explained in a shatteringly unconscious insult. I want to spend my time working, भैया मेरे को काम करना है, ये सब नहीं करना है. Bill's dilemma is also how to manage someone who does not like anyone looking over their shoulder. Part of this nervousness comes from the experience with several others who sought autonomy. One of these had also hated one looking over his shoulder, and Bill, respecting his wishes and track record, had backed off, only to discover 6 months later that this person has been going down the wrong road. At least 2 other hands-off workers, after 3 or 4 years of excellent production, quietly gave their notice and set up their own company. I don't mind competition. Bill lies stoutly, but they were some of my best people. In fact, it is when they left that we decided that we should be serious about management and how could we make it possible for them to stay. So the idea of this case study, it's a culmination of all of this. It's a culmination of various caselets, but we will take Elizabeth as an example. And the whole idea of summing up this caselet is so that we all understand the importance of career anchors. But can you tell me what is Elizabeth's career anchor? I have got. Anyone would like to go for this career anchor, or do you want me to just take you through the slides where the career anchors are? So a hint.
Yeah, I believe that would help.
The career anchor for Elizabeth is on this page. So we have an answer. Okay, this has just got minimized. Let's open the chat. 4, 5.
Yeah, 4, 5.
So when you say 4, 5, which are you referring to? 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8. Number 7, pure challenge. Okay. Number 6. Number 6, service or dedication to a cause. Well, it's not number 6. I will share a hint and we will discuss. It is either 7 or 8. Which one do you think? Is it 7 or 8? I see a lot of people for 7. I don't see anyone for 8. Okay. Okay, so folks, this was a trick question. And I purposely put in a few pointers just to mislead you. I put in a pointer about work-life balance. I put in a pointer about her taking a break from work. But the answer, very correctly brought out by quite a few of all, is number 7. She's a person who likes pure challenge. I purposely brought in those other factors just to purposely bias you towards lifestyle. But if you see the caselet and you see the pointers, it is the pure challenge. She doesn't want to manage people. She likes technical work and she likes problems. And you see, even while she was pregnant and she was on a maternity leave, she did not take leave. She was still working on those projects, on those problems on a part-time basis. Right? So bang on, the answer is 7. She is someone who is driven by pure challenge. With that, folks, I think we come to wraps on time, because I think we had to wrap up by 4:15. It's 4:19, but I leave it to Peterson.
Yeah, so the time just moved on. Career anchor and important aspects, if not rightly chosen, would not derive the desired results. Thank you, Mr. Frederick, for sharing such wonderful insights. The caselets beautifully cleared the entire concept and the entire concept of types of career anchors you need to have in your organization. A great session. To all our participants, we hope you all have had a great session. We make sure we are able to answer all questions of our participants. However, if unanswered during the live masterclass, we plan to get back to you soon with the answers. You can also access the slides and recordings of our today's session on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. Please feel free to like and share these along with your colleagues, friends who may be interested. Before we conclude with our today's session, we would also want to thank all the association members, Geisha, LinkedIn Local, and NASCOM CUE for supporting these HRAI events. To know more about these associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Thank you once again, dear speaker, and our participants for joining us today. Do join us for our next masterclass tomorrow on Creating a Safe Workplace by Ms. Vandana Teji on the 30th of October 2020. Request you to kindly register for this event and the link mentioned in the chat window. Also to join the Dialogue 2020 WhatsApp chat group through the invite link shared in the chat window. That's it from us today. Thank you. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now.
Cheers. Thanks, Peterson. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Frederick. Thank you, Shyam. We may now conclude with our webinar.
Sure.